I'm Wilbur Callender, Attorney Kim said, I'm chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Government Employees Retirement System, commonly known as GERS. The employees, the administrator, and the members of the Board of Trustees welcome you to this Public Pension Forum, jointly sponsored by GERS and National Conference on Public Employee Retirement Systems, with the acronym of NCPERS. These 2 days of education will focus on the basis of public pensions. We'll also highlight some of the major issues relative to our own retirement system. For several years, there has been a slew of misinformation that has been disseminated throughout our community. It also has been published on the national media. We were forced to elicit the efforts of our national experts who we have here today to assist us in this presentation to all stakeholders and all other interested individuals. So to the mainland visitors, we would like for you to take a tour of this beautiful large island, and those of you who can find the extra time to go out and do some shopping. And again, as Attorney Kim has stated, careful with your cell phones. I attended a conference quite recently, and the speakers were continuously being interrupted with the phone calls. So again, welcome, and I hope that your stay here is adequate. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Callender, for that introduction. So we'll go to the next portion of the agenda, which is Meet Your Public Pension, an introduction to the Government Employees Retirement System of the Virgin Islands. Leading us in this discussion is Austin Nibbs. Mr. Nibbs is the administrator of GERS and has been since October of 2007. As the administrator of the Defined Benefit Pension Plan, he manages the day-to-day operation of the system. Prior to his position, he was the Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Finance of the Government of the Virgin Islands for 8 years. During his career, he has held positions with Chase Manhattan Bank, CPA firms, and the Department of Defense Defense Contract Audit Agency. Please help me welcome Mr. Nibbs.
Good morning. I would like to thank NCPERS and Kim for agreeing to partner with the GRS in making this forum become a reality. I would also like to say thank you to the other presenters for taking the time to come to the Virgin Islands to participate in this forum. Diane Oakley, National Institute on Retirement Security, Alex Brown, National Association of State Retirement Administrators, Bridget Early, National Public Pension Coalition, Leon Rocky Joyner and Alvin Frias, no strangers to the Virgin Islands for the CELO Company, and Lydia, who's not here, she'll be with us today. We also like to thank another presenter, Diane T. Capehart, representing the local AARP. And Diane and Andrews, we have come a long way since our meeting in Washington, D.C. this past January. We also like to add that GRS didn't have to take a penny out of their pocket to put on this forum. NCPERS and the other presenters, organizations, they were the ones that paid their way here and everything. So we are pleased to have them with us. For the next few minutes, I will speak on who is GRS, its role, responsibilities, and functions. What has occurred since the inception of the GRS in 1959 to present. The GRS was enacted by the Third Legislature of the Virgin Islands on June 24, 1959, by Act 479 as a defined benefit pension plan, also known as a DB plan. The structure that governs the operation of the GRS is Title III, Chapter 27 and 28A of the Virgin Islands Code. Initially, employees were enrolled 12 months after employment. However, one of GRS's reforms approved by the legislature in 2015 required for enrollment to begin immediately, the first day on the job. The objective of the GRS is to encourage employees who enter the system to remain in the service of the government by establishing an orderly means whereby those members who became superannuated or incapacitated as a result of disability may retire without suffering economic hardships. The GRS is governed by a 7-member board. 2 retired trustees are elected every 5 years from each district. All other trustees are appointed every 5 years, every 5 years, 2 from Central Labor Council, 2 from the private sector, 1 in each district, and 1 from the island of St. John. The GRS began on October 1, 1959 with 98 pensioners of 58 males, 46 females, and 1,608 active members, 846 males, 762 females. They were transitioned into the new plan from the old plan, the retirement plan of the officials and employees of the municipality of St. Thomas and St. John's Virgin Islands, a very long title. We did not find any records or reports in our archive of a similar plan for the municipality of St. Croix. It's very strange. There are only 2 pensioners remaining on the payroll for August 31, 2018, down from 98 in 1959. In the first 30 years of existence, 1959 to 1989, there were no substantial payments of annuities other than for pensioners who were transitions from the old plan, because for the most part, many members were not eligible to retire. There were no deficits, and contributions and investment returns exceeded benefit payments. I wish we were there right now. As of August 15, 2018, the GRS membership was 8,494 retirees and 8,669 active members, making that a current ratio of 1:1. The biweekly payroll for the August 15, 2018 annuity payment was $10.2 million. The total annuity payments for the 11 months from October 1, 2017 through August 15, 2018, $214.2 million. The GRS has never missed an annuity payment. As you know, in September 2017, Virgin Islands experienced 2 Category 5 hurricanes, Irma and Maria. After Hurricane Irma, the V3 system, which processes the annuity payroll, went down and was not 100% restored until January 2018. But you know what? GRS did not miss one annuity payroll. We partnered with our host bank to ensure that the annuities were processed timely. I would like to thank all the staff who work under stressful conditions to make this happen. Although some lost their homes, their children displaced and had to be relocated, spouses and other family members had to move off island for health reasons, we made sure that the retirees received their annuity payments on time. Prior to 1981, by statute, the GRS could only invest in certificates of deposits and saving accounts. However, legislation passed in 1981 opened the door to invest in marketable securities. Since the inception, the GRS has earned an average rate of return of 8.8%. I will repeat. Since inception, the GRS has earned an average, that's since inception in 1981, going to the market, GRS has earned an average rate of return in the market of 8.8%. Presently, the assets of the GRS include an investment portfolio which comprised of cash and cash equivalents, equity, fixed income, private equity, and other alternative investments such as real estate, local investment, and member loans. The investment portfolio is managed with a specific goal to grow the assets to meet systems, pension liability, and ensure a reliable cash flow that provides for funding requirements of near-term pension obligation. To achieve these goals, the board allocates the fund assets on a variety of assets type and strategies in consultation with our investment consultants and our investment staff. The fund's successful long-term performance confirms the importance of diversification and controlling investment risk within each asset class. Specifically, the fund is broadly diversified across and within asset classes to limit the volatility to the total fund investment returns and to limit the impact of large losses on individual investments. Since implemented the dynamic asset allocation investment strategy in 2015, the GRS has terminated all of its active equity or stock managers. The investment portfolio is now managed by 2 active fixed income bond managers and 1 index, which is a combination of equity and fixed income manager, and 1 private equity non-local manager, down from 17 managers a few years ago. The latest market value of the portfolio is as of July 31, 2018. The market value for this period was $682 million, which represented a decrease from $726 million for the same period 1 year ago. To meet obligations, $79 million was withdrawn from the fund, and the fund earned income of $12 million and had a gain of $23 million. The July 31, 2018 market value of $682 million excludes member loans, market value of about $100 million, and the St. Thomas and St. Croix office buildings market value of $10.6 million, making the total market value of the system assets of July 31, 2018, $792.6 million. As of July 31, 2018, the total plan for the month of July earned 0.8%. Year to date, 3.5%, and 1 year period, 5.3%. As I said before, since inception, 8.8% total plan. Total equity as of July for the month, 3%. Year to date, 9.6%. 1 year, 21%. And since inception, equity has 11.8%. Total fixed income for the month of July, 0.2%. Year to date, negative 0.1%. 1 year period, 0.9%. Since inception, 7.2%. Total alternatives, month of July, 0.5%. Year to date, 6.7%. 1 year period, negative 8.9%. Since inception, negative 1.9%. A review of the market rates of returns for GRS for 20-year period 1998 through 2017 shows that other than for the tech bubble in 2001-2002, the recession in 2008-2009, the economic downturn in 2015, GRS's portfolio experienced positive returns for 16 out of the 20 years between 1998 and 2017. Many years of returns were above the expected rate of return of 7.5%. For example, in 1999, earned 11.3%. Year 2000, 8.8%. 2003, 17.6%. 2004, 10.6%. 2005, 11.8%. 2007, 14.1%. 2010, 8.1%. 2012, 14.5%. 2013, 9.1%. 2016, 7.7%. And they said GRS made bad investments. Alternative investment. Title 3, Section 12, Chapter 27 of the Virgin Island Codes give the Board of Trustees the authority to invest in an alternative investment program. Alternative investments are private market or non-publicly traded investments in the domestic and international venture capital and special equity, simply any assets other than the traditional equity and bonds. The program is designed to enhance the total fund performance by generating a long-term rate of return greater than the fund's assumed actuarial rate of 7%. On January 23, 2014, the board approved a rate of no less than 10% effective January 1, 2014 for all alternative local investments. Shortly thereafter, the board suspended the program. Today, GRS is invested in 3 types of alternative investment: private equity, real estate, special situations, which are the local investments, and member loans. The private equity is the Mesro Financial Private Equity Fund, which is a limited partnership. Real estate, as you know, we have the GRS office building on St. Thomas and one in St. Croix. Our tenants in St. Thomas is the Department of Justice, AG's office, Governor of the Virgin Islands Division of Personnel, Job Corps, which is Rescare, and very soon the VI Housing Finance Authority will be occupying the unit downstairs. In St. Croix, we have 3 buildings. The tenants are Pleasant Healthcare Facility, who occupy 2 buildings, and the Casino Control Commission, the other building. We do have undeveloped land, Estate Huffman and Nollyburg, 120 acres on St. Thomas, and Estate Coakley Bay, 170 acres on St. Croix. We also have the Havenside Shopping Mall on St. Thomas, which is adjacent to the cruise ship dock. Our local investments are the Renaissance Carambola Beach Resort and Spa on St. Croix, which is, you're here presently. It's been closed to the public since Irma due to damages sustained during a hurricane. When we say closed to the public, it is at capacity, because we have been housing FEMA, EPA, and other rescue folks that came to the Virgin Islands. So we are making money, not vacant, but they don't have the amenities, so we actually close to the public when I mean that. Presently, we are in negotiations to sell this property. VI property tax anticipation note, that's the one, the $13 million that we gave to the government of the Virgin Islands. It was agreed with the government of the Virgin Islands to support Act number 7261. That loan matures on December 2018, in a few months. We do have loans with Kazi Foods, which is KFC and Pizza Hut in St. Thomas and St. Croix, $7 million. That loan matures October 1, 2023. We also have loans with VI Finest, which is West Bay Supermarket on St. Thomas, $11 million. That loan matures March 31, 2025. We also have the life settlement, the Atlantis Fund, and this investment is currently in banking proceedings. This is the investment that I've always been on record saying I think it was one of the worst investments that the GRS has ever made. So I've always been on record with that. So that's the only bad investment that I know about that GRS has ever made. It's a risk when you go into the market. Member loans, as you know, the member loans were suspended on September 19, 2015. There's about $100 million remaining. There are approximately 4,300 personal loan units and about 107 mortgages. All personal loans, retirees, and active maturity dates are before or in 2023. In order for any pension system to meet its statutory obligation to its members, it must be actuarially funded. To achieve this, the plan sponsor, which is the government of the Virgin Islands, has a fiduciary responsibility for the survivability of the system. Title 3, Chapter 27, Section 718A of the Virgin Islands Code mandates that UVI be financed on the actuarial reserve basis. An actuarial reserve basis generally means that the retirement benefits are funded during the employee's active years of employment so that by the time they retire, the benefits would have been fully funded in advance of the retirement date. The actuarial evaluation is conducted annually by the system's actuary, Siegel. They're here today. And it determines the contributions rate necessary to meet the cost of benefits being accrued and a corresponding amount to pay down a portion of the unfunded liabilities. The actuarial valuation is performed to calculate the actuarially determined employer contributions, known as the ADEC, and is based on the assumptions and methods adopted by the board. For many years, actual amounts contributed by the plan sponsors have not been based on the required ADEC amounts. Reasons, some of the problems we're in today. The amounts that were contributed by the plan sponsor have been significantly less than the required ADEC. Although the employer contribution rate is currently 20.5% of payroll, the ADEC rate has increased from 35% of payroll in 2006 to 64% of payroll in 2016 and 68.5% of payroll in 2018, probably rocky, still climbing. We know that from plan year ending September 30, 1991 through plan year ending September 30, 2017, the actual employer contributions received were $1.6 billion versus the ADEC of $3.2 billion, a shortfall of $1.6 billion. This means that the plan sponsor did not fund the plan to the tune of $1.6 billion between 1991 and 2017. During the same period, the system's benefit payments to retirees and expenses were in excess of $2.8 billion. As of October 1, 2017, the GRS reported an actuarial accrued liability known as AAL of $3.67 billion based on a long-term expected annual rate of return of 7%. That's our assumed rate that the board has approved. Since the GRS assets as of the same dates were about $800 million, the unfunded actuarial accrued liability, which is the UAAL, was $2.83 billion as of October 1, 2017, under the same basis. However, because the GRS projected to run out of assets sometime in 2023 or 2024, between that time, or sooner, based on the Government Accounting Standards Board, GASB, requirements for GASB 68 reporting purposes, the GRS used a blended rate of 3.74%, an expected long-term annual rate of return of 7%. For the UAAL, which is actually called also now a new term, the employer's net pension liability under GASB 68 reporting as of October 1, 2017 is $4.4 billion. Contributions are the main driver of a pension system. Again, I repeat. Contributions are the main driver of a pension system. Benefit pension system formula: contributions plus investment income equal benefit payments plus administrative expenses. Benefit payments and administrative expenses are more than contributions and investment income. There's an imbalance, and it should be corrected. Beginning in 1996, there was an imbalance between contributions collected and benefit payments and expenses, resulting in a deficit of $1.6 million. That was back in 1996. Each year thereafter, contributions collected have been less than the benefit payments and expenses. In 2017, there was a shortfall of $164 million. For the 10 months in fiscal year 2018, there's a shortfall of $90.9 million. Annual shortfall between contributions collected and benefit payments and expenses since 2000 have caused the systems to withdraw $1.5 billion. I repeat, since 2000, because of the plan sponsor neglect to fund the system, GRS had to withdraw from its portfolio $1.5 billion to meet retiree payroll. One of the major contributors to the unfunded liability is the failure to adequately fund the system and identify revenue streams that contribute to the required ADEC. The ADEC is the amount of contributions that should be appropriated by the legislature and paid to the system each year by the plan sponsor to keep the system actuarially sound. For the past 27 years, from 1991 to 2017, the plan sponsor has contributed $1.6 billion less, as I stated before, than it should have contributed to the GRS. The amount the plan sponsor should have contributed is $3.2 billion. Therefore, there's a shortfall of 1.6. In 2017, the ADEC was $250.6 million, which is an increase from $247.2 million in 2016. The actual contributions received in 2017 were $84.8 million, which is slightly less than the $86.3 million received in 2016. The 2018 ADEC is expected to increase from the $250.6 million to $268.8 million. This $1.6 billion shortfall in ADEC must be addressed sooner rather than later to ensure the sustainability of the GRS. Piecemeal legislation will not have a meaningful impact on the sustainability of the fund. In 2011, our actuary estimated there were 47 million in prior years statutory employee missing contributions. Since 2012 through July 31, 2018, we have billed and received 9.8 million of the 47, which leaves a balance of $37.2 million as of July 31, 2018. This amount does not include the employee and employer contributions owed by Wang F. Louis Hospital Medical Center in the amount of $11.2 million. Over the past 20 years, despite the investment earnings, the system has experienced a liquidity position because of a few reasons. The plan sponsor failure over the years to fund the plan on an actuarial reserve basis, the 9 unfunded mandates by prior legislatures, one impacting the system, $90 million net appropriated by the legislature. $30 million was appropriated, actually cost $120 million. $30 million was appropriated by the legislature. It was funded for $90 million. The rippling effect of the global financial economic crisis in 2008 and 2009, also the Virgin Islands Economic Stability Act of 7261, and numerous withdrawals and refunds from the system. Because of the liquidity position of the system, significant reforms were introduced by the board and passed by the legislature. In 2005, the Reform Act, which is Act 6794, which was enacted November 2nd, 2005, the system, which stated that the system should not provide any new increases in benefits to members or beneficiaries unless the government has deposited the funding for the prior fiscal year into the bank accounts of the system and concurrently make a provision for the funding for all future benefit improvements on a sound actuarial basis in budget. So actually, GRS is in non-compliance with this statute. Tier 1 was created, which reduced benefits. Tier 2, was created, which reduced benefits and increased contributions for employees hired after October 1, 2005. Also, in Executive Order number 458-2012, dated May 26, 2012, a task force was created by former Governor John P. Young. The members were representatives from the St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix Chambers of Commerce, Central Labor Council, Finance Chair or Post Auditor of the Legislature, the Director of the OMB, GRS Administrator, the GRS Board Chair, and the Governor's Chief of Staff. The task force accepted 98% of the GRS Board reforms recommendations, which included all employee and employer contributions must be paid before an annuity can be issued. Limit redeposit of withdrawn refunds plus interest and loss investment to 5 years if on an installment basis. Wanted limited the amount of service annuity to 600 hours and a period not to exceed 2 years for members returning to work. We increased the retirement age to 65 years. The members not eligible for a refund if vested. If you are vested, you're not eligible to receive any refunds. We increased the credited service from 20 years to 25 years and not eligible for annuity until 58 or 60 years and at least 10 years of service for hazardous employees. We increased Tier 1 and Tier 2 employees' contributions 1% each year for 3 years. We increased the employer contributions in 2008 from 14.5% to 17.5%, and on January 1, 2015, from 17.5% to 20.5%. There are proposals before the legislature to increase that rate even further. We increased the judges' and legislators' contributions. We also was approved career compensation averaging for Tier 2, and we indefinite suspension of the retirees' COLA, which we did, which saved us about $3 million annually. Future of the GRS. One of the main reasons we invited all stakeholders to the forum is for you to gain information from the pension experts, gain clarity to weed out misinformation about the serious problems facing GRS. We want you to leave with a clearer understanding of the problems and the necessary reforms and changes that will be needed for the system to survive. I refer you to the opinions page of the August 27, 2018 Virgin Islands Daily News, contributing columnist Maria Ferreira's statement. Enough with the false hope. It's beyond time for real, honest answers and action on GRS. Solutions are needed. Painful, hard decisions, hard solutions. And it's clear no one in public life wants to take on this overwhelming issue. Certainly not a vote-getter in the upcoming election. Despite continual warnings of what is coming, we haven't seen any effort of reform. There has been effort, and it's coming. On July 18, 2018, during our annual overview of operations before the Committee on Finance, I stated that in my first presentation as a GRS administrator during the summer of 2008, I presented looking ahead to the future. And I quote, "A great part of the government employees' retirement system will depend on whether the plan sponsor fund the contributions to the system on an actuarial reserve basis and or combination of floating pension obligation bonds and making substantial lump sum payments to the governor." 1 year later, on August 9, 2018, during our annual presentation before the Committee on Appropriations and Budget, I explained in the caption, "Health of the System." Since 1996, the GRS has not been in good health, and its health continues to deteriorate. This is the first year that the system went from a positive net cash flow to a negative net cash flow, where benefits and expenses exceeded contributions in 2009. For the plan sponsor to continue to delay addressing the root causes of the problems facing the GRS will cause the following. Stated in 2009, the unfunded liability to increase, benefit payments to the retirees to continue to exceed the contributions received by approximately 60 to 80 million annually, the actual employer contributions not keeping pace with the annual employer required contributions, the ARC at that time, the actuarially required amounts and increasing in future years to make up current and prior year contributions deficit, the unfunded actuarial liabilities to the plan continuing to increase significantly over time, and a continual decrease in the funding ratio. For the past 11 years, the GRS and his consultants have been on the record and sounding the alarm. For the past 5 to 6 years, we have publicly stated the system's liquid assets will be depleted by 2023 or sooner, depending on market conditions, if there is not a large infusion of cash to grow the portfolio. We are aware that the administration has submitted proposal to the legislature for consideration, which will be part of the discussion later in the forum. In conclusion, GRS remains committed to the survivability of the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Are there any questions for Mr. Nibbs from the audience? Yes, I see a hand up, and I think someone should be bringing, Ms. Morgan, I think someone should be bringing you a mic. Moorhead, excuse me, Ms. Moorhead. Again, for the benefit of folks who are watching this live stream, if you could speak directly and closely into the mic. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. This is Mary Moorhead, representing St. Croix Government Retirees. Mr. Nibbs, I need 2 clarifications. One, when you refer to prime sponsor, is the Wang Lui considered separate and apart entity from prime sponsor? Because we're told just Friday past by the governor that everything is, all contributions are totally up to date. And I did ask the question as to whether it's contributions for this administration or contributions total, and I was told contributions total. And the second question, clarification I need, is it's also been repeated by this administration and given the impression that when the back contributions are paid, that it is to GRS advantage because it's paid with a percentage of interest. And that was repeated again to our organization just this past week. So if you'd clarify those 2 things, please.
Okay, first, the plan sponsor. Government of the Virgin Islands is a prime sponsor. We consider them the prime plan sponsor. However, the other plan sponsors are the 15 autonomous agencies also. But we usually call the government the prime sponsor. So when we say plan sponsor, we mean all employers in the government of the Virgin Islands, which includes all the semi-autonomous agencies and the central government, the courts, legislature, everyone. In regards to up-to-date, the government of Virgin Islands is up-to-date with the statutory contributions, meaning those contributions are withheld from the employees' paycheck every other week. As you know, by statute, they have up to within 10 days after payday to make those payments. So I can confirm with the CFO that that's up to date. As far as missing contributions, no. And there are different type of missing contributions. So that statement was incorrect. Yes, they do pay us when we bill them. We do attach the 6%. But I clarify again, the statutory contributions, which comes out every 2 paydays, remember they were behind after the storm. And a lot of retirees could not retire because by law we cannot retire anyone unless both sides of employee and employer contributions were paid. I know that I was taken to task in a radio program because, and I did speak with the governor personally, what happens is that they paid us, let's say May, but they owed us December, January, February. The system would not, because each pay date is different figures. A file must come in with a check that matches the file because you may have a lot of errors. So we don't post, and he did say that we were not posting, we were behind because the government in the Virgin Islands missed maybe December, January, February, start paying me in April. Why do you do that? Now, if I was in commercial accounting as an accountant, I would apply it. But the system don't allow me to do that because every payroll is a different amount. So all I recommended to them, if June or April checks drop, cancel that check and write me a check for February for January. Or the check that dropped with the file for January, February should be there in Treasury in the safe. So send that to me because our system records it going forward in a sequential order. You know, I don't want to get in the business of crediting this. It's going to be an accounting nightmare. You have a check there for me for February. Why are you paying me in April? Give me the check in February that is still in your. That's all it is.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Yes, Administrator, I want a little clarification on this unfunded liability that you're talking about, specifically pertaining to there's any legislation that was passed that wasn't funded. Along, I guess some of this include the government contribution which they have failed to make, and also is it accumulative? And if it is accumulative, what is the cost annually to the people, to the government, to the
Well,
country?
I may have the actuaries to help me, but the funded liabilities, it's a simple math thing. It's all the obligations for the plan, less any assets like carambola, office buildings, and the difference is really unfunded liability. So it's the total obligations that the plan would, let's say for instance, if the plan sponsor had to pay everyone today what they would owe the members. The total obligations less any or assets, that's what we consider the unfunded liability.
But what I need to know clearly, is there any particular legislation
Oh, yes.
that contributed to that?
Sir, I don't know. I know that.
And in case of any reform, should we still include them? Will we have to eliminate them? So we need to know the specifics of these particular.
Can't eliminate anything. What's on the books is already on the books. There were 9 unfunded mandates. I will have to give you the schedule. There were 9. And I know, sir, that you were former senator. You were in, I don't know what year you were in the legislature, but there could have been some unfunded mandates during your tenure.
I understand that, but we need to know. We need to know.
Well, yes.
We need to know.
Yeah, it's on our website, and I'll probably be able to give you a schedule later on in the program. I can email it to you, but there are 9 unfunded mandates.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And if I could ask all the questioners to identify themselves before you ask your questions. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Nibs, gubernatorial candidate Albert Bryan. Just a clarification on Ms. Moorhead's question. When you said the statutory requirements, does that include the 20% match, 20.5% match by the governor?
Yes, sir.
So everything is up to date.
Up to date.
Thank you.
There's a question
That's
up
it.
here in the front. Oh, hold on one second, please. Yes, no, it is you, but we're waiting for the microphone.
Morning. My name is Barbara Isaac. 2 things. One, where are you live streaming? On a particular channel? Like the public could,
YouTube.
on YouTube?
Yes.
Okay. And 2, if retirees wanted a buyout, what, in a nutshell, would be some of the complications? How much possibility on the dollar could they get? That kind of thing. Just a synopsis.
I'm going to probably have my actuary help me, but we have considered that many times. We have considered it and discussed it many, many times. But our feeling is that it's going to be complicated, plus we have to probably buy out the active members first because they haven't used any of their contributions. And yes. Rocky, can you assist me?
You'd have to, this is Rocky Joyner with Siegel, you would have to pay back their contributions with interest and whatever the value of their accrued benefit, their vested accrued benefit is above their own contribution. There's a two-step process, determine their contributions with interest. And you take the value of their accrued benefit, compare that to the contributions, you have to give them some lump sum to take up that difference also if they're vested.
I just wanted to add that it's being streamed live on GERS of the Virgin Islands on YouTube. Okay, that's a channel.
No, well,
Retirees get just on the dollar.
I don't know because, I mean, there's some retirees who probably were making $6,000 when they retire, $10,000 when they retire. Some retirees are at the 65 cap. So it's going to be a mixture. I can't say. I mean, the actuary would have to do some work to assist us with that.
And you, just one more. You have not explored that possibility in writing. Like
Not
you
in
wouldn't have
writing.
something to give.
Not in writing, but we have, I think, Rocky, we did an analysis one time.
Right.
Yeah. But we have given it serious thought, but we didn't think it would have played out well with the members. And the cash, I think the retirees would be more affected. And I know you are a retiree, Ms. Isaac. And this is a DB plan, which is supposed to carry you through the end of your life. Some retirees don't have any savings. And some have health problems and things like that. If that occurs, it's going to be a nightmare for some. Because we only have 782 million left. When I got here, we were like 1.5 billion or 1.3 billion 11 years ago. The liquid assets, about 682 million. You pay out the active members first, and you heard what the Rocky said. It's not going to, that's not much left going to be left. Our office buildings only value at 10.6. You know, our land, we can sell that. You know, so I think it would be a chaos for the retirees. And I know that you don't like to hear reduced benefits. We have discussed that before. Maybe now you should start considering that.
If I may, sorry, just to further on Mr. Gibbs' remarks, later in the presentation, we do have some projections and some information about what happens if no action is taken and where the system ends and what is available to pay retirees at that point. Given your question about possible lump sums, we'll take a quick look at that and see if we can get you some rough estimates before the end of the conference tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, Alvin Frias, Siegel. I mean, the other thing to consider is that, as Mr. Nibbs summarized earlier, currently the total obligation of the fund, based on a 7% long-term rate of return, is $3.6 billion. That's the obligation for everybody, not just for the current retirees. That includes the active people who have already been vested, or even some who are not even vested but already accumulated benefits. But of that $3.6 billion, about at least half of that is the retirees. So think about that. Half of $3.6 billion is $1.8 billion. So if you're thinking, let's say, of lump sum buyout based on a 7% rate of return, which currently, if you actually do a buyout, you know, from an annuity basis, right now it would be a lower rate. But let's say you use 7%, you don't have enough assets. You only have $800 million of assets, so it's just not possible to do. And you know, if you do something like that, I don't think you can cherry pick and say, you know, which retirees can take that option.
Last question.
Good morning. What is this?
Identify yourself.
Sorry, Gene Ford, Senator.
Okay.
What is the status of the $7 million annually due to GRS from the Rum Cover Fund? Is that up to date?
No, since 2013, we have received 28 I think, 0.2 million of the 40 million. So they balance us. In September, we should be getting another 7 million. It should be paid in September every year. So there's a shortfall, about 14.6 million or something like that.
If it's quick, last question.
Carew Felix, senatorial candidate, St. Croix. Government is mandated to make the payments to GERS. When they did not, was GERS mandated by law to continue paying the benefits to the retirees? I'm trying to say maybe you should hold out and squeeze the government to make the payment so that you'll be solvent today. Then
Well,
can't do
there's-
nothing today.
There's been a court case since 1980s. In 1996, we've just been back. We're going to be back into court in this month. This month, yeah, in September. Yes and no. If you talk, determine what period you're talking about. Benefit payment should never be paid without